Welcome to Conversations With. My name is Shaley Hoogendoorn and I live with bipolar 2 disorder. Sharing with others is healing, both individually and collectively. Sharing our stories will educate others, bring more understanding, shed more light, and smash more stigma. Our voices need to be heard. Our stories aren't over yet. This is bipolar. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of This is Bipolar. I am your host, Shaley Hoogendoorn. I live with bipolar 2 disorder. I am multi-passionate. Therefore, I am a teacher, an event planner, a podcaster, and content creator. I also have a husband and I have children. So I am a mother and I am fiercely passionate about sharing my story of lived experience with bipolar and the stories of others. And I am very excited. If you haven't already noticed, or if this is the first time you're tuning in, I have a co-host friend, and I'd love for her to introduce herself.
Hello. Hi, I am Dr. Andrea Vassilev. I also live with bipolar and I have my doctorate in psychology. I'm a therapist here in California, specializing in bipolar. And I am also a passionate advocate. I have a self-stigma program I created that is being turned into a book. So that's coming
Woo!
line, very exciting. And yeah, I'm here with Shaley and the cats. So here we are.
If you're on YouTube, you might see some cat appearances. We will see. We will see.
Who shows up?
Before we launch into everything, one of the biggest questions that I get asked is about support groups. I just get message upon message of someone just wanting to share their story or asking questions and just basically relating to someone else that lives with bipolar disorder. And so I started subscriptions on Instagram. Subscriptions, you join a peer support group. So it is in messages. So we have our own private group. So, and there are people from all over the world. I have people in New Zealand. I've got someone just joined from India. I'm from Canada, US. We have a lot. Yeah, it's amazing. And so chances are, if you go on that chat, there is someone awake. There are people to talk to with your experience, and there are people that will listen and just get it because they all live with bipolar disorder. And one of the very cool things that we've been doing for almost 6 or 7 months now, we meet every month on Zoom. And so we show up and we check in and we encourage each other. We come as we are. Sometimes we come in our pajamas. Sometimes we're a hot mess. Sometimes we're not. And we just encourage people to just show up where they're at. And from what others have said, it's been a really, really, really life-changing experience because they have never met anyone else or seen anyone else that lives with a mood disorder. So you are welcome. Sign up. Message me if you need help getting signed up. And I and my other bipolar bears would love, love, love to see you there. All right. I would love to get started. Andrea and I did an episode that went out a little while ago that talked about early warning signs of depression. This is our follow-up one where we want to talk about strategies to deal with depression. And Andrea is going to tell you a little bit of the topics that we will cover this episode.
Yes. So we're going to talk about first our personal experiences experiencing bipolar depression and what that feels like, because that will probably resonate with a lot of people who are listening. It's such a unique and terrible experience that it's almost hard to put into words, but we're going to do that. And then we will go on to some of our own personal strategies, coping skills that we've developed just through, through doing it, right?
Yeah.
Learn by doing. So we'll talk about those. And yeah, that'll be the big parts of it.
Well, Andrea, did you want to share first? I know you have something special to share with us just about your personal experience or how it's just such a word that's used for all types of things. Like I know you sometimes hear, oh, I'm so depressed that
Ugh,
my TV series ended,
yeah.
or I'm so depressed about this. I'd love to hear your experience, and then maybe we can tease out the difference between clinical depression and situational depression, because
Sure.
I think that it's very, very different, and we use the same word, unfortunately,
Right.
for it
We have some
all.
shortcomings in language, right? Because people will
Yeah.
say, "I'm so depressed, it's raining out today." And if you're in Canada, that's bad news, right? Because it's always raining, isn't it?
Where I live, it's snowing everywhere else. Where I live, it rains in Vancouver.
I'm just teasing. So I actually personally use this language and I encourage people to use it. I encourage
Mm,
it in my self-stigma program as well because it puts some distance between you and the experience. I say I'm experiencing,
that's good.
right? I'm not depressed. Right? That sort of conflates it with people who are saying I'm depressed because it's raining. Like
Yeah.
I am experiencing depression. This is a thing. It's separate from me. I'm going through it. It's its own entity. So I use that language, and I
Yeah.
think that that is really helpful for me.
I love that reminder. We think, oh, it's just words, but words are actually really important. And of course, you're going to buy Andrea's book when it comes out, and you're going to follow
When
her on
she finishes
Instagram.
writing it.
She is going to finish writing it. And language is really important. And I actually think it's a place that we can really start when we talk about breaking
Yes.
down stereotypes and stigma. Yeah, for sure. So let's hear your explanation.
So I've got some poetic phrases that I use, right? And this first one's not mine. I heard it somewhere. I've heard it a bunch of places, and if it's yours, then credit to you. Let us know. I don't know where it started, but I've heard that experiencing bipolar depression is like swimming in a bowl full of razor blades,
It's true.
right? And that's so
Yeah.
visceral and so descriptive.
Yeah. You know what that just reminded me of? I'm going to out myself as a Swiftie. She has the song is called Death by a Thousand Cuts.
Yes. I mean, that expression I've heard, right?
Yeah.
But that's,
Yeah. It's a good song.
you want to sing it for us? Go ahead.
No, I 100% don't
Death
want to
by
sing
a
it for
thousand.
us.
That's all I know. That's all I got.
Yeah. No, that's a really good way to explain it. Yeah. If you go back, if you want to hear Andrea's full story, you can go back, and I interviewed her a while ago, and she's been on the podcast before, and she actually tells her whole personal story. And in that personal story, she shares some poetry. I would love to hear some poetry that you have describing depression.
So here's the thing. When I was really going through it, all the cycling, all the depression, all the hypomania, I wrote a lot, right? And some of it's not bad, some of it's a mess, but it's all very raw and truthful. So I pulled this out of the archives and it's from 2007. This is quite some time ago. This is what it felt like to me at the time. So if this resonates with you, then you are not alone and we see you because we've been through this. So it goes, I have stopped feeling, ceased existence,
Hmm.
segregated myself from this rich but ironically lonely world. I remain alone. I take no risks. Like a cold gray stone, I lie, artless and formless, solid and stoic in my non existence.
Yeah.
There's this numbness about it, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. And I love that rich part,
Yeah.
because I think one of the things that it's hard for people to understand is that I am aware of the beauty in the world. It
Right.
almost seems
Out
like,
of reach.
yeah, I almost feel like there's this thick, dark bubble around me. And I know those things are out there, but they no longer can get access to it.
Exactly. It's this like you're stuck. You've sometimes got this non-existence numbness, and sometimes it's this what I call this swirling vortex of despair, right? Where it's more agitated. Actually, Shaley, we should mention one of my favorite sort of recounts of bipolar depression is in the book called Brainstorm by Sarah
Okay.
Schley. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've read it. She's also making a documentary. That's a separate.
Yes, I know about the documentary.
Her book about bipolar depression is just so spot on. It just
Mm,
really it resonates so much. I really it's
okay.
called Brainstorm from broken to blessed on the bipolar spectrum. It's really great.
Mm. Awesome. We'll put it in the show notes. I always struggle to try and put into words what depression feels like to me, because when I'm depressed, I don't have a lot of words, which if y'all know me, if you've all listened to the podcast at all, I rarely am speechless. Okay.
Right.
Let's
We
just say
love that about you. That's one of your finest qualities.
people always ask me what happened or why are you feeling that way? They want to fix it. And the thing is that nothing happens, right? Sometimes there are triggers, but
Mhm.
mine came regularly every year around the same time. It kept me from sharing because I knew people were going to ask me the reason. I remember not only feeling the depression, but having this deep, deep guilt because I had an
You had it
awesome
all.
life. I love my husband. We have a great relationship. Obviously, there's things, right? I'm not going to rose colored glasses marriage, but I had children. Deep down, I had all brothers, so I kind of wanted a girl. I got two. And so I ended up getting my career, right? You
Right.
listen on other episodes that I got my degree by the skin of my teeth near the end through a depression. I'm outgoing and I'm
Right.
extroverted. And so I felt like there was not a good enough reason to tell people. So then I
Right. You don't have the right to experience depression. Like, how dare you? You have food, you have clothes, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not how it works. Just because your basic needs are met doesn't mean that your brain isn't living with bipolar.
yeah, and I felt selfish too.
Mm,
Like depression is resort for people going through something horrible, right? And
yeah.
so I think when we get into talking about the different strategies and things that we do, it's been really, really powerful to me to look at that differently. So if you're feeling like that, I get it
Yeah, definitely.
for
So
sure.
you mentioned strategies and coping, which
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
experienced in this in this department.
We are experienced. Andrea has been diagnosed since she was a teenager, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going on 25 years now.
So she has experiences for sure. And I was only diagnosed in 2010 and I was 30, 4 or 6. I don't know. Math is hard. I should really write it down.
You were just 30. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. And so there have been, yeah, I try not to sit in it too long, but I've let myself kind of grieve the idea of because I was diagnosed so late, all those months of like years of
Mhm.
cycles of depression. Sometimes I feel like it's a stole time from me. I felt like
Oh,
a time
same.
stealer. Yeah.
Yeah, we do a whole episode on stealing of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear that.
We
I get
should. And before we jump into like talking about, it's such a sciencey word, right? Strategies or coping mechanisms,
that.
all of those things. I just want to acknowledge right now, if you are in the depths of depression, if it has clutches in you, please know that we are not saying these are miracle cures.
Mm-mm.
We are 100% not saying these are easy. And we're not just, throwing them out there like answers. We want you to know, first and foremost, that we see you. And my heart feels tight just thinking about my experience and thinking that others have to feel that too. We absolutely know how hard these things are for you.
Right. Isn't that ironic, right? That these skills, when they're so important, are the hardest. So in all things, encourage people to look for balance, right? Because there's balance between having to meet your depression where it is
Yes.
and pushing yourself to move the needle a little bit. That's the other thing is people say, okay, I got to turn this depression off. Maybe not. Maybe you just move the needle a tiny, tiny bit. And even that is worth doing. So we're going to keep coming back to that balance of knowing what you can do, what you can't do, and what's the middle ground where maybe you can do something.
I love that. And starting small, right? Otherwise, it just becomes completely overwhelming.
Going to give people a little structure here. We'll talk a tiny bit about professional help, then we'll talk about self-care, which covers all kinds of things, social support, distraction techniques, right? So those are some of the big bucket categories. Shaley, give us a couple of words about professional help because we also want to acknowledge that you can do all of the stuff and
Yeah.
still need professional help. In fact, that's probably what will happen. So if you are really in it, what's the first thing you should do?
I think absolutely you need to go to a doctor. Most people don't realize they have it till they go to the doctor, unless someone's really well versed and knows it's in their family and knows. You probably, like me, or I wasn't surprised to have a mental health disorder, but I didn't think that it would be bipolar disorder. And so I think having a treatment team, having a doctor is very, very important, because until we could get my medication right, all of these other strategies that Andrea and I are going to talk about
Mhm.
were literally impossible for me to do, because I was just surviving every day.
Exactly.
I was just getting through hypomanic days on this whirlwind of whatever it was, trying to hold on to it, knowing the depression would come. And then the depression, I was trying to stay alive. I was
Exactly.
trying to make, so the thought of doing any of these things seemed absolutely impossible. But having medication, having a doctor, therapist, I
Right.
was able to access and bring, the two levels a little bit closer to each other. And I was able to actually be self-reflective, right? And try the things that we're going to talk about. Yeah. Just go to your doctor. And if you're someone that's in complete crisis, if you are having suicidal thoughts or thoughts about hurting yourself or others, go to emergency. If you need to be admitted to save your life, please, please go. I know it's a hard experience. I know that some people, it was not a great experience, but if it keeps you alive,
That's what matters.
that's what matters. I am a firm believer that it is nearly impossible to manage without medical help, in my opinion.
Yeah. So if you have your diagnosis and you know you experience episodes of depression and you feel one coming, go back to our last episode with the warning signs.
Yes.
But you know that you're in it or about to be in it, call your doctor, psychiatrist, therapist, anybody who can help. Reach out, kind of like if you're going down the quicksand, you got to reach out.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
and
that's
even telling one person, I don't know about you, but if I speak aloud, even now, the power of, I call it like the power of the pen, or the power of, to me, it's the voicemail, that, the power of a group message. I feel the teeniest bit of movement
Mhm.
when I speak it aloud or write it or tell someone, right? Someone you trust. And if that person, dismisses you or doesn't, you don't feel fully heard, try someone else, right?
Right.
And if you need to, if it's something that you've never written down or told someone before your diagnosis, feel free to send us a message. I get messages all the time that says,
Yeah.
I've never told anyone, because
Right.
it's a start. We're here to hold space for that, and hopefully it will help you get courage to, share in real life.
Yeah, exactly. So once you've seen the doctor, told the doctor, taken care of yourself, gone to the hospital if you need to, then what? What are some of our self-care type things? I
I
can
want to I want to hear yours first.
Okay, so this this also kind of falls into the bucket of prevention,
Okay.
which we didn't cover prevention, but let's give it a hot second, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit of prevention is worth a lot of cure. The
Yes.
tricky part about that is that you can do all of the quote unquote right things, do all of the treatment things, take perfect care of yourself, and you might still end up with depression. So don't be discouraged if that happens. But there are things that can be done that we do that reduce risk of relapse or even just time to relapse. And that's a big deal. So some of
Yeah.
these things are preventative. But when experiencing depression, I'm going to go off script for a second. The first and most important thing, you'll never guess. Guess. No, don't guess, I'll tell you. Self-compassion.
Yeah. Even more important than self-care, I would say,
Mhm.
because you can be doing all of those things and still bullying yourself. Uh,
Mhm.
and I feel like my negative self-talk and that person, I try and separate it from myself, that voice inside that's stops me from being able to do anything. So if I can't have compassion with myself, keep thinking over and over again, it's my fault. Some of my reoccurring thoughts are, I can't believe I'm back here. How did I let this happen? I have to look at those thoughts and say, this is
Exactly.
not true.
It's not true. It's not helpful. And it's making things worse. The hard part about that is when you're experiencing depression, those cognitive distortions, that negative self talk, boom, right away, they happen so much more easily. So you've got to be pretty intentional about holding yourself in compassion, bath of empathy, just, bathe yourself in all of that love that you can muster. So that's the first thing, because that'll make everything else easier, right?
Mhm. It's true. It's true. So what I have done in the past, because I still struggle with this, let's be real. I write down things I would say to a friend or things I've said
Be
to
a friend.
people on Instagram, and then I read them back to myself because it's
Okay.
not doesn't come naturally to think about that for myself.
Yeah.
And I used to have a self-care box, and it would have things in it that made me be compassionate with myself. So I might be skipping ahead to some self-care things, but that was a step that I did to be compassionate myself. So one, I wrote down kind words or words that I'd love to be spoken over me,
Nice.
to me, sent to me. I will read them. And then I also have a couple pictures. I have a picture of 7-year-old Shaley, and then I have 16-year-old Shaley, and I have them on my mirror. And I found this beautiful thing that said, "You are enough," that you can like you etch it kind of in
Oh.
your mirror. And I look at little Shaley and I think, or teenage Shaley, like those years, whoa. Um, and I just have so compassion because they didn't like, 1, they didn't know, and they felt like they were different, and I just it's easier to say those things to myself if I'm looking at that.
That's beautiful. I love that.
How do
And
you practice your self-compassion?
I think it's sort of it's everywhere, right? It's an approach to life, it's an approach to how you talk to yourself, it's an approach to how you do things. So if you're trying to do something that's a coping strategy that we'll talk about and it's not going very well, instead of hating on yourself, it's okay, I did my best. Maybe my best didn't succeed or accomplish the task or whatever, but I
Yeah,
did my best and that's really all I can ask of myself, right?
yeah.
And another one you might stick in that self-care box is a gratitude journal.
Mhm.
Plenty of research behind gratitude journals and mood. Even if a journal sounds like a lot of work, just a practice of 3 things you can name for the
Mm.
day. Shelly, give me your 3 things you're grateful for today.
Today. I'm grateful for you that you're here, and I'm grateful that you like fun and fashion with me. Some of my favorite things right now of having a co-host again is being able to talk about like, "Hey, what are you gonna wear? What am I gonna wear?" And then we match up. To me, that brings me so much joy, and if you see, we're almost twinsing.
I know, right?
We couldn't wear just straight black, and I'm gonna get into a self-care thing about color for me,
Yes.
but so we have some gold. So that my second thing I'm thankful for is that I was able the past 2 weeks to teach
Woo.
small, tiny humans
Oh my gosh.
4 days a week, both weeks,
Oh my
which
gosh.
teaching on call, which is a lot for me. It's not that I can't do it, but then everything at home just falls apart. I can, making dinner, all those things that usually come naturally, it's overwhelming. Like sometimes I just have to sit and zone out after because littles are a lot and I
Yes.
love them. But I think I'm grateful for that and grateful I think the third one would be I'm grateful that I don't judge myself about that because there's kind of a distortion that I have that tells me, I'm not working enough. I'm not giving back to society enough. This isn't a big deal, right? Everybody works kind of thing. But I recognize for me, teaching small children and living with a bipolar disorder is a huge feat. So
Yes.
those
That's
are
amazing. I
those are
love
my
those.
three.
And I'm grateful for you too. When you're experiencing depression, your grateful things might not be as big. They might
Yeah,
be, I'm grateful I took a shower today, and I'm grateful that someone called and that they care about me. And I'm
yeah,
grateful that I have these pills to take. Like they could be very
yeah,
basic, but still worth
yeah.
doing.
One of the biggest things is I do reasons to stay alive. I even have
Yes.
like a
I
thing.
love those.
And that really helped because I had to dig deep to find like 30 in 1 month or, 45 because it's easier for me to say, like even though these are absolutely valid, but it would be easy for me to just say my family or just say I had to dig deeper into the little glimmers around me. And
Mhm.
I wanted to speak a little bit to gratitude journal as well. It doesn't have to be a journal with paper. I always one of my things is I always think that there's a right way to do things and that I'm doing it wrong. So that compassion I'm working on. And so sitting down and writing served me when I was a teenager. Now, like I had children and just being busy and just who I am, the sitting down and doing the writing is overwhelming to me because I don't know where to start. Then I just keep going.
Right.
Makes it a stressful thing. I also
Mhm.
get stressed by coloring, which is hilarious. But I have found a way. One, my content creation and my Instagram is my journaling, but also I have an app called Marco Polo where I speak, like I tell my friends, you and I, we do audio check-ins, right? And then also like I'll video record myself or audio record myself because if I'm speaking it out to me, but
Yeah.
having it still is just as powerful. So if journaling's not your jam, find the way.
Right. Even just think them.
Yeah.
It's the process of identifying them that's really helpful.
If you are interested too on the Instagram, every Thursday, I do it mostly for me, but the community shows up. I do a Thankful Thursday post.
Yes.
So if you can even just be come that day and write those out, I have a way you can write it right where everyone can see it, like in the comments under the post, but I usually
Mhm.
put it in stories too, and then it just comes to me. And I used to think like, oh, I'm going to post this again. People are getting so bored, but people show up and they really, really appreciate it. And it also reminds me. So if that's something that would be helpful to you, I offer that on Thursdays, on
That's
Thankful
wonderful.
Thursdays. Yeah.
So give me another coping strategy for depression, something to focus on.
Yeah. So when I start feeling depressed, I get almost militant about my sleep.
Mm.
Because we know with bipolar disorder, the sleep and energy, those two things are a big, big struggle for us. With depression, I actually sleep too much. Like
A lot of people have hypersomnia. The interesting thing about depression is you can have hypersomnia, which is
yeah.
sleeping too much, or you can have insomnia, in which you might be very tired but are unable to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, that one's hard, right? Because
That's
you're
rough.
stuck with your thoughts. If I could have just slept the depressions away, that is what I would have done. But I
Mhm.
force myself to keep between 8 and then when I don't have to work in the morning, sometimes I can sleep 8 to 10 hours, right? When I'm depressed, but I could sleep depressed. I could sleep 12, 14. I could just sleep forever or get up and go back. But I make
Right.
myself get vertical. And I learned this from Holly Schwartz
Yes, you
in
did.
the social rhythms because I thought as long as I'm awake, but
Nope.
actually you need to get vertical. You need to sit up, stand up to give
Feet
the
to floor, as they say.
yes, signal to your body that the day is starting. So I do that. And on the deepest, deepest, darkest, darkest days, just doing that and moving myself and getting some kind of food. And then
Right.
even if I'm just moving to the couch to sit up, or even if I
Mhm.
just do a lap in my home, if that's all I can muster, it's forward motion, like Andrea was talking about, little movement and not getting stuck. How about you? How do you sleep a lot, sleep less when you're experiencing depression?
Sort of depends. I've
Ooh,
gone
okay.
both ways, but I do think it's important not to, again, balance.
Yeah.
Some days you bed rot because that's all you can do. But
Mhm.
if there's a tiny spark of a percentage of a possibility of a hope that you can get out of bed and make it to the couch, do that. Do the thing that is just within reach.
I love that. I love that so much. And I leave myself my glimmer pebbles. So I'll leave stuff around my house. So color is really, really important to me. Okay.
Mhm.
So I have like my water bottles. I'm a drink girly.
Look at my
Um,
phone.
yes, phone cases. So I'll have, and I'm also a maximalist. Oh, look, I'm getting these made. Plug. This is bipolar
Nice.
mugs. Yeah, within the next couple months, you can get your This is Bipolar mug. I have one of these in every spot. So I have one of these by my
Water
bed.
bottles.
Yep. Sorry for those that are listening. It's my Starbucks tumbler, but water bottles. I have different ones. I have one like where I sit beside the couch. I have one in my office. I have them all over the place. And then I also have different, like I have different drinks. So when I get up, I get excited to use the mug to have my special drink, right? To have my latte or whatever. So sometimes, honestly, just getting up for my latte was the thing. But I find that leading into to something else like color around me, even in my bedroom, I don't like I have bright colors, a lot, like some crisp white, I've got some yellow. I just find that just seeing other colors just helps me get like a pinhole out of the gray.
Color
And
therapy. Yeah.
yeah, color therapy, I didn't know it was a thing. I just always did it. Putting on sometimes even if I'm at home and I'm not leaving, sometimes I'll even put on lipstick. What I've done lately, I always just had black and gray like sweatshirts or my cozy hoodies. But then when we were wearing them all the time in COVID, I decided I can be cozy, but also colorful. So even when I'm sad, I have certain depression down sweaters and hoodies. I literally have one that has the Taylor Swift "I cry a lot, but I am productive" one. It's purple, different
Oh,
ones like that. And I have a Sunday one from Andrea bought me one that says the Sunday Scaries. Anyways, color therapy. I didn't know that that had a
I mean, I
name.
know a lot about it. I've just heard the phrase, different colors make you feel different things. That's fair. But
Yeah,
you make a really good point, Shaley. In all of these,
yeah,
it's do the little thing.
yeah,
Do the little thing if that's taking a tiny amount of joy in something simple, if that's making it to the couch. So I think that's a good overall idea is to do the little thing. Say the one thing you're grateful for, right? Get up out of bed. Another one where we can do the little thing is exercise. And I
yeah,
can literally hear everybody rolling their eyes at me because
yeah,
I get it when
yeah,
you're experiencing depression. Yeah, exercise. You're like, go ahead, go take a walk. Okay, bro. Like what?
yeah. I can
Everybody's
barely get
simple.
myself to exercise sometimes when I'm not.
Right? But it's, I don't know, for me, exercise has been such a huge part of my getting and staying well. But again, do the little thing, sit on the floor and touch your toes, right? Do the
Yeah,
yoga, stand up, reach for the ceiling, right?
yeah.
Do the little thing that you can that moves you in the right direction. Get that snowball going.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Hilary McBride, and she talks a lot about embodiment and embodiment therapy. And I love the language because it had extra connotation with me with when I would get depressed, I get disordered eating and then not so much anymore because again, professional help, my medication has really helped with that. But I loved how she just talks about like just changing exercise to moving your body, right?
Sure.
Because to me it was exercise, gym. Like I like I said, I get these solid ways of how you have to do things. If you don't do it for an hour, it's not even worth it. Like those kinds of things. And she really helped me reframe that. I think of it as moving the feelings through my body too.
Sure, I love that. And
Yeah.
people who know me know I'm a dancer, so I dance,
Ah,
but you can also turn on YouTube and get like dance fitness, or you can just turn on your music and move your body around the house, like dance like no one's watching, but for real,
yeah.
right? But it's true, cardio exercise, intense exercise will shift your mood. So if you have it in you, do it. It's like medicine.
Yeah. Caring for my body helps me
Mhm.
care for my mind. Normally, I would never do a challenge because especially in January, but my daughter asked me to do a Pilates challenge. And if your teenage
Oh,
daughter wants to hang out with you, you
do
even
it.
you even do Pilates for her. So we've been doing this one, and they're literally 10 or 12 minutes long. And I would probably think before, what's the use kind of thing. But actually,
How do you feel after?
yeah, good, and they're hard, and also that would bring up with exercise having a buddy, or if I tell someone I'm gonna do it. And this one was a big one for me. Those would always so I would have this list of these things that we're doing in my head, and then I would beat myself up if I didn't do them at night. So one of the strategies that I do is instead of writing a to-do list at night, I call it my reverse to-do list. I write only the things I did, like
Mhm.
I ate an apple, and then I draw a little square and I check it off or I cross it
Nice.
out. And mentally, it's makes such a difference. Like even if I said, like, I walked to my car today. I walked to my car, I got in my car and went somewhere. If that's on the list, great.
Right. So again, focusing on the small wins, right? As a pattern here. So
Yeah.
exercise is kind of up there with diet, and neither you or I are nutritionally trained.
No.
Can't tell you what to eat and not eat, but there's plenty of evidence out there for diet in bipolar and just in moods in general. Like if you put junk in, you get junk out. At
Yeah.
the same time, if you've ever read my Slate article or heard my story, sometimes like when I first got really sick when I was 14, I stopped eating. That's why they took me to the pediatrician, right? No one knew I was experiencing depression, but they knew that I had stopped eating. And the doctor was like, let her eat whatever she wants because she's not eating. And all I ate for like 2 months was this is so disgusting. McDonald's French fries.
Yep.
This was the 90s, though they weren't as awful as they are. But McDonald's French fries, sugar cookies, and
Yep.
apple juice. That
Mhm.
was it. Right.
Yep.
So that probably was not helping, but I wasn't eating. So again, balance, like the struggle between meeting your depression where it is and trying to move the needle.
Yeah. Especially be, very careful because I think that it's also a slippery slope. because of hyperfixation that we get. And also with depression, you can just focus on all the hard things. And sometimes too, with our meds, we gain weight and then we feel worse, or sometimes we move less, so we gain weight, we feel worse. And there's this big yo-yo thing.
Yeah.
Just like Andrea said, balance. Be careful not to do, and I'm saying this from experience, go through your cupboards to throw out anything, which I'm going to go sugar. I'm picking one exact diet that's completely, I have to follow step by step by step. For me, it was like a hyper focus, and so much so that I got in vicious cycles. So just be really careful. And like what Andrea said, if you can't eat it all, eat something. Like for me, when I'm really
Eat the
depressed,
fries.
yeah, eat the fries. When I'm really depressed, I can't drink water. I know
Oh, interesting.
that's so weird. I can't drink water. So I drink like coffee, iced coffee. I'm not recommending this, but, and also like, drinks. And sometimes I drink diet drinks. Sometimes I drink diet pop. None, not great for you. And then I would have tea, but it's liquid. I was getting liquid, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I used to beat myself up. A friend was like, that is liquid and you're staying alive. And when I could just let that go, I actually started drinking more water because I wasn't pressuring myself or
Right.
feeling bad.
Yeah, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So when I'm experiencing depression, I still eat fries. Not from McDonald's, but I
Fries are yum.
I know, right? Grilled cheese and fries. If you come into my house one day and I'm eating grilled cheese and fries, something may be up.
Oh yeah. We with our children, grilled cheese. My kids are still love grilled cheese. I know some people have a hard time eating it all. So it's not cookie cutter. It is.
Right.
But yes, try and get something green. I take greens in pill form because I can't
Oh,
handle the
interesting.
drink.
And I have protein powder that I love, but it's chocolate, so it's really good.
Nice, nice.
Right? So yeah, it might sound on the face of things like we're being contradictory, but really that's the thing, is that these are aspirational and you want to move towards what's best for
Yeah.
you, but not move so quickly and so hard towards it that you're
Yeah.
really tough on yourself. You got
Yeah,
to
and
give
I
yourself
like that
permission.
step thing that you're talking about because, okay, so maybe you are eating, maybe you feel like you could do that next step. Maybe the next step is to eat at similar times or 3
Mhm.
times a day until you can get into patterns, because just doing the steps, even though you don't believe that they're helping you or they feel
Fake
terrible.
it till you make it.
Yeah,
So you said something about routines, which if you go back and listen to Dr. Schwartz's episode, you'll hear all about. But if you've got routines, stick to them. Oh my goodness, stick to them as much as you possibly can. It cues your body, it cues your brain, it cues your heart in some ways, right?
yeah,
To stay well, to feel a little better. So I eat the same time every day. I go to bed the same time every day. And when I'm experiencing depression, some of that goes out the window, but I try my hardest to stick to it.
yeah, yeah. And for all of you that heard that episode or know me at all, this is my hard one. It's so
Mhm.
hard. Yeah, it's so hard because I get bored. I have different ones for the days I work and the days I don't. I really,
Excellent. Right.
really struggle. So don't think like I did, I am not doing social rhythms or the same thing because it is boring and I'm not boring, so I am not doing that. Instead, I took a look at, oh, okay, I'm already doing some. Which
Mhm.
ones could I,
I
work on
leverage.
a little better? The first step for me was just get to bed before midnight and go to sleep the same day that you woke up. That's my thing.
That's interesting. I like that. Okay, so we have the self-care we talked about with the gratitude and the little things that we love and the things that feel good and smell nice, et cetera, et cetera. And we talked about movement and a little about diet and a little about routine.
Mm,
Sleep hygiene is very important. If you are having trouble sleeping, you've probably heard a lot of the recommendations. Don't use your phone about 2 hours before bed.
yeah.
Use your bed only for sleeping and other
Yes,
things, but not
that's
just for
important.
hanging out or studying or working, right? That's a big one. Keep it cool in your room. All of the sleep hygiene things might make your sleep a little easier.
Yeah.
So those are some of the big ones. We can talk a little bit about one of Shaley's most favoritist words,
What's my most favorite word?
mindfulness.
Oh, yeah. So we were talking earlier and we were talking about how I would roll my eyes. I could to not hear the word mindfulness because we're getting back to this theme of Shaley. It seemed like a tight box that I couldn't fit into, right?
Mm.
I needed to be wearing like flowy MC Hammer kind of pants. I need to be sitting on a bolster. I need to be cross-legged, all these things. I had this idea of what it is, right? And especially when mindfulness and all of that word was kind of being used,
Yeah,
it
it's a
was
buzzword.
yeah, it was a buzzword and it was being portrayed in all of media a certain way. And I look at mindfulness way different now. I'm on board with the mindfulness. Some of the things that I do, especially when depressed, because I can get, on the revolving tapes of the, hard thoughts, bad thoughts, beating myself up. Just picturing those as I like the leaf and water analogy.
Mhm.
So picturing those thoughts on these little leaves that float by. Because I thought mindfulness is you got to block those things out and you have to get to a state where your mind is empty.
No, that's not how it works.
Impossible. So I picture that, I'm by the river. I even know which one I picture by my house. And I'll picture them sitting on there like, like you're not good enough. And I watch it float.
Yeah,
It
literally
might not.
put it on the leaf, watch it float away. So yeah, mindfulness is just really doing one thing at a time with full attention, full acceptance, right? A mindfulness meditation is like what you're talking about, placing your thoughts on leaves, just watching them float by without interacting with them, without judging them, just coexisting. And I make it sound so easy, and it's not easy. But if you're in a moment where you're experiencing really acute feelings of being overwhelmed, that's a great thing to do, is to just notice and accept your thoughts. Okay, I notice I'm feeling overwhelmed. I accept that I'm feeling overwhelmed. I am watching this feeling of being overwhelmed float down the river and away.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And like a minute counts.
Mhm.
A minute counts. And I used to do this with work a lot. I kept watching the hours. Oh, it's almost recess. That's this much of my day is done. Oh, and I just kept trying to get things done. I'm really like, okay, like we're doing language arts right now. This book is really cute. I try and be there instead of always in the back of my head waiting for it to be over or getting to the next thing.
Right.
And usually when I'm depressed, my whole focus is what can I do to get through my day? Because I'm trying to get back to my bedtime. Like I just want the day to be over. So if I say to myself, you are making dinner right now for your children, and I might be hating it, but I'm just like, you are here. Like I literally need to tell myself. And sometimes even when it feels impossible, I'll take off my shoes and socks. If it's not cold, I'll go outside because I feel it, right? Like I feel it reminds me I'm here on the ground because I
Mhm.
live I live in my head.
Yeah.
How about you? What kind of mindfulness or grounding things help you when you're feeling completely overwhelmed?
So I do yoga, which
Mhm.
again, people we might be getting some woo-woos from the crowd here. I don't know, but I'm a yoga. I got yoga teacher certified so I could use it with
No
clients. Yeah.
way.
Yeah. I don't do like stand on your head yoga. I do very simple grounding in the body, regulating a breath, paying attention to what you're doing, mindful sort of yoga practices. And I try to do that, you know, ongoingly,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Not
And
just,
they're teaching children now. Like it's actually in our curriculum to do things like that. And it's so cool because
oh, welcome to Canada. I love that so much.
we we make it fun, right? For kids and they buy in. There's a mindfulness time. We have these little bells, but we do things and I think we can do them as adults. Just like I'm a firm believer of looking at picture books as adults. I just am. It brings us back. Everyone, I love being read to. Anyways, that's teacher Shaley going at it. But we do like hot chocolate breathing. So I'm like, get your mug. You've got your steamy hot chocolate, your marshmallows. Okay, your marshmallow will go flying if you breathe really fast. Let's go slow. Or,
Yeah,
we make it fun. So I even do that to myself sometimes. I'm like, drink your hot chocolate, Jay, like,
that's
right?
beautiful. I love
Slow.
that.
So yeah, I think it gives me a lot of hope that our kids are going to have a lot of these skills that we never had because we're so aware of it that it is in schools here.
Yeah, that's great. And hope is something we're going to circle back to at the end because
Yes.
I've got some thoughts about hope. But something that hopefully you and I are providing is another coping strategy, another skill, and that's social support, right? So this could be your close circle, your significant other, your family, your loved ones, your friends, or hear me out, could be strangers on the internet who get it.
Yeah.
Either is great, right? There's in this country, we have DBSA, Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance groups, we have NAMI groups. We've got Instagram accounts, we've got Shaley's group, we've got Bipolar Social Club, which is an email list. We've got
Yeah.
so many places to reach out and connect to people, either people with bipolar or people without bipolar, but to connect really changes how you're functioning.
Yeah, it's true. Community care is just as important as, if not more, even more important than self-care. Because, yeah, even if you have one person and the problem, right? That sounds, yeah, okay, I've got friends. Yeah. The problem is when you usually we hear a lot of when you're depressed, you isolate, right? Because you feel like you're a
Mhm.
burden, you feel like this. For me, I think, oh, I'm here again, like because I sound like a broken record because the same thoughts come or whatever. And I have a group of friends and we have a WhatsApp group that is just like, I'll tell them and they're like, it doesn't matter if it's the same. We will listen to it till the
Right.
cows come home. And the fact that I can write it and they can read it when they want helps me feel like less of an inconvenience because I convince
Right.
myself I'm an inconvenience. But I love what you said about the internet because I never thought in a bajillion years, that's a big number,
Mhm.
that talking to people on Instagram would change my life, and it has. It has. I thought that I was gonna be like this wealth of lived experience information, but really the connection has been the hugest thing, and I get to connect with people all over the world, all the time, and I think too, eventually that might seep out into your life if you get comfortable talking to someone, and it's just I don't know, as human beings, I think our most important job is to, witness each other's lives and witness each other's pain.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and when you talk to people, it's important to think about how can I communicate my needs, right? Do I need someone to listen? Do I need someone to come over and help me clean the house because I've been in bed for a week, right? But communicating your needs and not being afraid to communicate your needs. Oh, I just need you to sit here with me in silence and watch
Mhm.
TV, which will bring us to our next thing. Can I go to the next thing?
Mm. Yeah, you can totally
Which
learn
is
that.
distraction, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That I mean, we talk about mindfulness, which is staying present in the moment,
Yeah.
but also sometimes you need distraction.
Yeah.
So in some of my biggest episodes, I watched the same TV shows over and over and over again because it was comforting. I knew it was
Yeah.
going to happen. It felt like having friends around. Have you done that?
Oh, yeah, I have
Okay,
mine.
what are
But
your
it
shows?
so one of my big ones so it used to be like parenthood. I love
Uh-huh.
that I connected to the family. I felt like I was a part of their family.
Mhm.
My Schitt's Creek is
Okay.
one of my absolute favorites. So if I really wanna laugh, I forget to laugh when I'm depressed, I don't feel like laughing, so I like kind of like ridiculous Saturday Night Live humor, so my one friend and I, she struggles too, will be like, "Watch Bridesmaids tonight, and it'll make you laugh." How about you?
So they kind of mine line up kind of with different episodes that I've had. I Love Lucy. It's a classic.
Okay, old school.
The Nanny, if you remember The
Yes,
Nanny with Fran Drescher, that was
I
one.
do remember.
Scrubs.
Okay, I don't think I've
Scrubs.
watched Scrubs.
Oh my gosh, you have to watch Scrubs. That was my
Okay,
early 20s
okay.
depression show. And The Big Bang Theory, which
Oh,
luckily was on for many, many years. So
yeah,
that held me in good stead for a
yeah,
while.
make sure I
Make
do
sure
know.
it's good for you at that
Well,
moment.
and I do notice this is my thing is that I think it was healthy to watch some things, but I think to be careful because when I feel and experience depression, I wanna surround myself with dark things, which feeds
Mm.
into it. So I have to be very careful. Hence the
Yeah,
Bridesmaids or the Schitt's Creek or whatever. I have to be very careful because I wanna listen to the saddest music and the darkest things because I want the outside to match my inside, and
right.
that's not completely healthy. So I'm very careful. I have to mix it.
Yeah, and that's kind of a theme we've seen actually is this sort of opposite action, right? If you're craving the sadness, maybe do something opposite. If you're craving the carby food, if you can, eat something healthier. If you're craving being in bed, maybe get out of bed. So there is that dialectic, that tension, right?
Yeah.
And another distraction that I use a lot is music. I
Yeah.
actually have a playlist called, oh, I wonder, could I share my playlist? Do people still use Pandora or am I a dinosaur? I think I had a client tell me I was a dinosaur for using Pandora. So whatever.
I
I
don't
have,
know what Pandora is. I use Spotify.
oh my gosh, you don't know Pandora? Okay, it was like one of the OG streaming services.
Oh,
But
I
anyway,
thought it was a bracelet.
Huh? Oh, that too. But anyway, I have a playlist literally called Feel Better, and it's not upbeat music, but it's gentle,
Yeah,
soft, warm, loving music. I do have other upbeat playlists, to
yeah,
lift my mood, but when I'm really in it, I've got this Feel Better playlist, which if we can figure
yeah.
out, we'll share.
Yeah, what would be so cool? Oh my goodness, I'm going to do this on Instagram. I want to do, let's make one together. So I'll put a post and people can put songs and I'll put together,
Yes.
this is bipolar feel better
Oh,
playlist.
I love that. Okay.
To do that. Call to action. Yeah. Woof,
Right.
this is
And
lots of things.
yeah, I've got one more. I've got, what about things that are creative? Which,
Yeah.
if you're really in the depths of it, might be very hard, but if you're just in the middle somewhere, could be really uplifting. So, what
Yeah.
creative things do you do, Shaley?
I love to craft. I love to make things. I found that I fell out of it a little bit because I used to do events more before COVID. So I would make a lot of the decor. Honestly, my creativity is a lot of getting dressed.
Mm,
I think of it as my palette. I like to put clothes together. I like to, luckily, I have a jeweler as a friend that makes me all my earrings. Yeah, I just putting those things together and then making things, right? And my huge one is content creation, right? Like I think it looks easy to some people, but I pore over the images, the art of making images go with words, go with music. And so, yeah.
yeah.
How do you like to create?
So, well, first off, you mentioned something really important in depression that I can't believe we skipped, and that is get dressed.
Oh, yes.
Change out of your pajamas, even if it's into something else that's comfortable and
Yeah.
pajama-esque.
Yep.
Get dressed. I get dressed
And
every single
yeah,
day.
we're lucky nowadays. There are very comfy pants that look.
Right. But the action of getting dressed is very powerful. It says, I'm delineating sleeping time from rest of day. And even if that rest of day is going to be me in the sweats, I have still changed and I have delineated the start of the day. So that's
Yeah.
good. But my creative things are, like I said, I dance, I sing, I color. I know you don't like to color, but I
Oh,
color.
lots of people do. I wish.
Come over and color. I have a coloring
Oh,
station downstairs.
oh,
I'm not even
see,
joking.
I would be good at that because it's social.
Okay,
I
let's do
would.
it. You know
Okay.
where I
Yeah.
live.
Color retreat.
Nice. And I have some of these silly like drawing books where it shows you like how to draw a cat,
Yeah.
for example, and it doesn't like it never looks right when I do it, but I love doing it anyway
Yes.
because I did it and it's fun.
Oh my goodness, you just reminded me. My biggest one is I get to be creative at school, like
Oh,
with kids.
sure.
I love doing art projects with kids and I do them too.
Nice. Yeah, be a kid. That's
We
beautiful.
lose that, right?
It's
But
a
yeah.
play. That's
Oh,
true.
I'm
Play.
feeling better. I woke up kind of like Eeyore, right? Oh, is it still January? And it's not. And just being on here talking about doing these things, I feel really smiley.
That's nice. I feel smiley too. So I hope that our listeners are feeling like they've gained something. If you don't feel smiley, that's fine, but
Yep.
hopeful that you gained something that you could maybe put into action, whether it's a thing or even just the attitude like we talked about of self-compassion, of balance, of pushing the needle just a little bit, having that one thing to do every day. In one of my later depressions, I made myself leave the house every day just to
Yeah.
go. I went to the mall, to the Body Shop. Remember the Body Shop? I think it went out of
Yeah, we
business.
still have them.
Do you? I think it went out of business here. Anyway, but I'd
Ooh.
go to the store every day. They got out of the house every day, right? I moved the needle that one tiny bit that I could do. I couldn't go to work, couldn't socialize, but I could just go to the mall and look around and chat
Yep.
with strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that probably helped too with your senses, right? Smelling things,
Yeah, really nice.
beautiful smelling things.
So,
I love that. I love that. Yeah, again, just moving. And one of the things we do in the peer support group, we always end our Zoom with, which is what's something that you could do to take care of yourself. This
mm,
month, I post that regularly. What can you do to take care of yourself this weekend or things like that if you wanted to share? We would love that. If you are on YouTube, just share below. And we would just love to hear and love to encourage just that little bit of movement, depending where you are. I hope that if you're in the deepest depression, that just looking for a glimmer for your day. Yeah. And I always like to say, have a day instead of have a good good or great day. Have a day, whatever that looks for to you. I hope that your day, week, month is kind to you. I just know where you are and you're seen, and it's not your fault. You didn't cause your depression, and there are these little things you can do, and we see you, and we're proud of you. If you are listening to this, you have done something huge.
Yes. So just remember that this too shall pass, right? It might take a long time to pass, but it will not last forever.
Yeah, it's true. Yes, I love that you put that in there. Like, we don't know when or how, but we know, we
Can we
know.
end with a hope thing?
Ooh,
We gave a little preview of hope, but something that's helped me, and maybe it's because I'm a redhead like Shaley, and I'm by nature incredibly stubborn,
yeah.
right? Maybe a little bit obstinate. I find that I have to have basically unflappable, obstinate, just spiteful levels of hope.
Mm,
Depression robs you of hope. But if
yeah,
you can hang on to that and can say, you know what, screw you, depression, I am going to remain hopeful that things will change, that things will be better. That is such a lifeline. Again, hard because depression takes that away, but
yeah.
I am stubborn about it.
I love that. Hope as resistance. I light an actual candle every episode that I
Oh,
do.
I love that.
Yeah, to hold space for all of our bipolar bears out there. So,
I love it.
yes, hold on to hope. And when that seems cheesy, think of it as a resistance and a rebellion, rebellious hope. We love you.
I
And
love you. Thank you for joining us.
thank you for joining us. This is Bipolar. Thanks again for tuning in. You can find video versions of This is Bipolar on our YouTube channel. We also have all our previous episodes of the podcast on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, and Google Play. We spend most of our time on Instagram at this.is.bipolar. There is a vibrant community there where we have conversations and post different ideas and different strategies, and we'd just love for you to join us there. It is so helpful if you enjoy our work or think it would be helpful to someone if you could like and share and save and follow us in all or any of those spaces. If you're a listener for the podcast, if you could leave a review, we would be forever grateful. Again, thank you for being here with us. Let's get the word out. Let's share lived experiences so that we can change the ideas that people have about bipolar and help those of us that live with it feel less alone. This is Bipolar.